Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the December PBCS updates brought to you by eCapital Advisors. So for those of you who are new to our webinar series, just a quick intro to eCapital. We are an advisory services technology firm out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, specialize in Oracle and analytical capabilities, have more than 250 EPM and BI customers, and we are a gold partner of Oracle as well as a standard partner from a cloud perspective. Here's our NASCAR slide giving you, a few of the different companies in the Twin Cities here that we've been working with recently. And just a quick introduction of myself. My name is Ryan Kohler. I'm a manager on the EPM practice for the Oracle side of the house. I've been with eCapital for about 5 years now, and certainly specializing in the cloud platforms.
And Bob Ussett. I've been doing these webinars with Ryan now for about 1.5 years, and excited to share the updates with everyone on the call here.
Absolutely, and today is the December update, or this release is the December release, so we've officially gotten through another year of webinars, so it's exciting for us as well. So before we walk into the new features here, why don't we just give a brief overview of what PBCS is. So PBCS is Oracle's subscription-based planning and budgeting cloud service, really offering a nice simplified interface for interactive forecasting and budgeting activities, as well as streamlined financial reporting, data input forms with real-time updates via business rules, and some light dashboarding, which is also a nice feature of the tool. We do like to remind those out there to not forget about EPBCS, the Enterprise Edition, and really the difference there is the Enterprise PBCS Edition is coming with kind of pre-built modules that allow you to get up and running a little quicker. So let's jump into the new features for this release. Here is our cloud readiness guide, so I'll kind of walk you through the first few updates, and then we'll pass it on to Bob to wrap things up. I would like to offer as well that at the end of today's webinar, one thing that we're going to be doing a little bit differently for today is walking through our favorite features of 2017 as well. So certainly stick around for that. So this month was an interesting month from a release schedule standpoint. This was the initial deployment schedule. So moving into our test environment on December 1st and then into production on December 15th. Oracle did actually identify some challenges with the December release that actually made the calculation script parser to actually validate invalid objects. Specifically, it was around the syntax that required an unneeded parenthesis. So what they've done is basically just kind of delayed it a week, and they're going to resolve this bug so that before it gets rolled out into your production environment, this will not be an issue for you. So just wanted to point that out. The official production release will be December 22nd now. Another friendly reminder here around the support standpoint for the standard interface. After this release, only the simplified interface will be a supported module from Oracle's perspective. And at this point in the game, we've all been using the simplified interface for at least a year now. So I don't think this will be any challenge for any clients out there or any organizations out there, but just a good call out to ensure your organization is prepared. So now, getting into the specific release notes here, and the first overall release for this December update schedule is around the tree view for reports and task lists. So in the past, you really didn't have a tree option to view your reports and task lists here. You can now arrange your reports in more of a logical format, similar to kind of how we look at data forms today. So this is going to be a nice update. One thing that Bob and I were talking about that we hope they implement in a future release is a similar type solution for dashboards as well. Would be kind of great to see here. So this change will be in effect. This change will also be in effect only for the planning and budgeting cloud services who activated their subscriptions on or before July 31st of 2016. So if you, for some reason, were a very early adopter of this, you may not have this capability right away. But I think anyone that's on the call today, I think would be pre-2016, so it should be good there. This next piece here is around our data management module of PBCS. So traditionally, we've been using data management to apply high-level mappings to our data set and help integrate our source data into our target PBCS applications. We can now load in dimensionality too, or load in metadata to build up our structures for our dimensions. So that is a nice enhancement to the data management feature in PBCS, kind of going in the same direction of a true FDMEE solution here as they continue to enable more functionality. This next one is a pretty minor update here to the release notes, but it's really just kind of a find and replace here for a couple of different functions that are out there. So the existing functions there on the left you'll see, and the new function is on the right there. Really the difference here is they've been able to rewrite these functions to produce more of a true or false type syntax on the results. So really what this is able to do for the end user, for the developer, is to integrate these functions into true if statements and nested if statements if you need that functionality. I'll be honest, these are functions that I have not used before, but I'm sure on certain workforce modules, it looks like something like this might actually be beneficial. So more to come on this as we explore some more of the functionality. This is also just a new function that's been created within Calc Manager. And this one is something that actually just returns the text length of a specific character here. So again, not a ton of use cases that come to the top of the head on this one, but certainly if you had a situation where you needed to look at certain aspects of your metadata to determine a next logical step in your calculation scripts, this could be an option for you to determine basically any length of a member that you want to classify within your business rules here. So with that, I'll pass it on to Bob here to review the remaining release notes. And Bob?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So rounding out the new things we have in December, rounding out our releases in December, we have a new version of SmartView for Office. Not a whole lot is going to change from this version from the previous version. There's some minor bug fixes that are going in as part of this, but it is important to note to call out, if there is going forward any issues with SmartView, you need to make sure you're running that latest and greatest version. Otherwise, if you submit a ticket with Oracle, they are just going to ask you to upgrade. So again, like we've stated in previous months, you're able to simply download that new version from the home screen of PBCS. That package can easily be given to IT, your IT organization as well, and they can distribute that to your end users. So, the next thing here is, once again, Oracle has expanded their documentation set around the application. So really nothing from an application standpoint, but again, just beefing up their documentation around the product to help you as you implement and support. So that rounds out the features for the standard application. We're going to move in now to the enterprise. There's really just two updates here. And again, with the enterprise option, as Ryan called out, these are really the pre-developed models. So these would be any updates to financials, workforce projects, capital, or strategic modeling. And like I said, we just have the two this month. So the first one is related to strategic modeling. So true form, like we've seen a lot this year. We have another update around this model. And this one is really around just creating and editing account groups within your strat plan. And really it's a way to help you clean up, maintain, and facilitate the different accounts that are going to be used within the different areas of this plan. So no real functionality changes, but really just a way for us to help organize and maintain that strategic modeling data set is just through this grouping. So within the account view, you're able to go in there. Within the actions, you're able to adjust those account groups. You'll notice right away when you open it, you have a lot of them that were just created as part of the implementation of the model. So with that, you can actually adjust those groupings that are there. You can create new ones. You can rename them. Again, just a way for us to facilitate the model and help it look nice and adjust those account settings as necessary. So the last one here, our last release feature is around the projects plan type. Essentially what happened here, what they've added here is you're now able to adjust your start and end date from on this web form. And then once you have done that, instead of needing to go to a different rule or form to actually run the calculations that would be required to refresh your project date, you're able to simply right-click from this form and click that option that we have highlighted here on the screen to refresh the dates, and it will essentially recalculate your data according to those inputs. So, really a nice feature for those of us that have enabled projects. In the past, it was overly complicated and easy to forget, basically, to just come down and refresh that calculation. So really putting it on this form was a, very responsible thing for Oracle to do, basically, as part of this release. So really, those are, some pretty minor enhancements overall this month. I think probably the biggest enhancements we had in this release was probably using that data management to update our metadata. Should also call out on that as well. We do have a blog out there on our eCap site. If you go to our eCap blog and you search data management, you'll see that pop up right away. Really does give you a step-by-step instructions on how to enable that and use it from a flat file standpoint. So definitely worth investigating for those of us that, all of us out there as we're looking to maintain our metadata in that way. So I'll end it here. A couple more topics here, but first we'll quick talk about the support. So this is nothing new. We've been talking about all these support options for several months now. So again, the classic dimension editor that's been used looks a lot like the version for those of us that have come from on-prem and how to maintain your members and member hierarchies. That classic way of doing that is going to be retired, and in place is going to be the new simplified dimension editor, it's called. So again, you see that down in the bottom right. It has a look and feel very similar to that of SmartView from a drill-in, keep-only type of process, but just going forward, that is going to be the option that we need to maintain our metadata. And then reporting, the desktop client for Reporting Studio, again, been talking about this for over a year now. None of us should be in the desktop client. You can get in there and you can modify reports from Reporting Web Studio directly in underneath the navigator option in the home screen. Really full functionality. We've seen nothing different between the two. So that technically, Oracle had said they were retiring this back in May. But now they are saying here at the end of 2017 it is going to be retired. So if you have not adopted this, it's time to get on board and be ready, as that should be retired at the end of this year. So as promised, Ryan and I have went through and we looked at all the release notes for the year, and we picked out the top 10 releases as voted on by Ryan as myself as far as what we think were the 10 best things that Oracle enabled as part of PBCS in 2017. So we'll just go through the list here. Ryan will take the first one, and we'll just kind of talk through what we voted as the top 10 enhancements.
Sure, thanks, Bob. So number 10, kind of working our way backwards here, is our move to the simplified interface. So I know this is something that we strongly encourage all of our clients to adopt right off the bat. But now that we are officially coming to the close of 2017, we're going to have to make that transition regardless. And again, the simplified interface is definitely the way to go. Really provides you with more of an engaging forecasting and budgeting process, and just makes a lot of sense from a streamlined kind of capabilities standpoint.
So moving on to number 9 is the new simplified dimension editor. So this is something we just talked about. It's important for a couple reasons. A lot like the simplified interface, it's very important because it's going to be the only way you can maintain your metadata within your application. So it's very important to know and understand how this feature works. But on top of that, the ability to navigate within your hierarchies the same way you would within SmartView really can make it a lot easier to kind of navigate your metadata to make the updates that are necessary. So plus a lot of drag and drop, copy paste functionality is available in this. That really does enable you as administrators to maintain your metadata in a simplified way.
So number 8 here being the activity reports. This is going to be a little more around all the enhancements to them throughout the year. So we had kind of started out from a simple process where we could view some activity reports from a user standpoint in the application. By the end of 2017, we were really able to look at a lot of different components. So I think the most helpful from my perspective, just in there using the tool, is I like to look at the top 7 user interface requests. So if you ever are finding challenges with your application or running into some performance issues, this can be a great tool to help isolate and give yourself a starting point onto maybe what some of those issues could potentially be. So if you see maybe there's a specific business rule that's taking longer than it used to, maybe there's potentially a data form that's taking longer to open than it has in the past, that will explicitly point this out here. And the nice part there is it gives you a starting point. So maybe the dimensionality was changed in the application, and some of the dense versus sparse dimensions were changed. That could potentially impact how you want to develop that form, right? So I think this is a great tool to help you as an administrator of the system really point out some of those pain points within the application.
So moving on to number 7 is dashboarding. So while this isn't new functionality, dashboarding has been part of PBCS for quite a while now. But really, they've made a lot of improvements from the different types of dashboarding that you have available. So throughout the year, they've been continually adding more and more chart types, adding more and more for the ability to, combine chart types like we see up in the top right of this image. So, while this functionality isn't necessarily new, they've made quite a few enhancements throughout 2017 that really gives organizations a lot more power to leverage them and incorporate them in their reporting processes.
On to number 6. So this is really around some of the enhancements to the Smart Push functionality that's incorporated with your PBCS subscription. So in the past, when you were pushing data from one plan type to another plan type, you really had to set up some sort of clear process if that was needed to facilitate, those data integrations. Now they've actually taken this and integrated that process for you. So you have the option to clear data before you push to make sure you're starting from scratch. I think where this comes in real handy is maybe when you have, data coming from more of a detailed cube and you're moving it to more of a consolidated level, and there is some mapping going on, and you're not just wanting to replace one intersection, but more merge multiple cells into one. You're obviously going to want to make sure you clear that data set before you engage that Smart Push. So this just kind of takes some of the development time, away from you as the end user and integrates it all into one seamless process here. So again, the data mapping with Smart Push has been a nice enhancement to the overall product.
So the next one here, again, not necessarily new in 2017, but once again, a lot of new features bolted onto it, or tweaks, additional tweaks that give us the ability is valid intersection. So once again, this is Oracle Planning's ability to basically define interdimensional security. So again, you're able to say, for forecast periods, you can only load possibly these type of accounts, for example, whereas in your budget process, you're going to enable many, many more accounts possibly to allow like a greater level of detail during that planning cycle. So, it's just one example. We've seen this implemented multiple different ways. Really, when used in conjunction with security, it can really simplify your overall model and what it looks like, especially to reduce some of the security that needs to be applied. And again, not new to 2017, but in 2017, you can now use attributes in valid intersections as well, which again can greatly reduce the number of valid intersections you'd have to set up. If you're able to go tag certain hierarchies with a certain attribute or certain account types with a certain attribute, you'd then be able to just use that attribute within the definition, really possibly saving a lot of time in that setup. On top of that, what they also did this year was within dashboards, it'll now incorporate those valid intersections. So going forward, if you ever have a valid intersection set up, those will only be the options that users would even be able to select within those reports. So again, in that health check dashboard we have in there, in that dropdown, if for the currency USD, we don't have an entity that's considered to be valid for that, it just would not show up in that dropdown list. So again, simplifying reporting options, helping parse out data for our end users, so to just make their use of the application a lot easier.
And number 4, this is actually a part of some new functionality here in December. It is the fact of loading metadata via data management. And I would maybe even expand this just to overall data management in general has continued to enhance throughout 2017. So, first we saw some additional integration from an adapter standpoint to include NetSuite, as Oracle purchased NetSuite. And now we can actually build up dimensionality in our PBCS applications using data management to build up those structures from those different source applications here on the cloud. So I'll be interested to see where this goes. I think this is an avenue that a lot of organizations can try to adopt to kind of help facilitate a better master data strategy as we move into 2018. So I think a very strong feature of the year.
So getting into our top 3, something that we found extremely helpful on all the implementations that we run through PBCS is the ability to update navigation flows. And what this is that essentially lets you customize that Smart View home screen, however it fits your user community. So, in a lot of the screenshots we come through in, we see those different modules that are enabled, whether those be dashboard, forms, rules. You have full capability to hide or add those as needed within your user community. So again, you can have a fully customized solution for even applied by groups, basically, just streamline that input and interface process. So again, this is something that eCapital spends time on in every implementation. If you use this correctly, the requirement or the time it takes to train your end user community in this tool is going to be greatly diminished because basically you can just limit very precisely what exactly they need to and can see within the solution.
And number 2 here, very closely related to number 3. I guess you could even say they're kind of 2A and 2B, close to a tie here, wouldn't you say, Bob?
I would agree.
And this is really just taking that customization of our navigation flows a little bit of a step further. So this was a very important functionality release that took place here in Q3, Q4, and this is really allowing an organization to springboard, if you will, into your other cloud applications. So if you look there on the top left, you're going to see those are a variety of the Oracle Cloud offerings that are currently available to organizations, and these are also the available offerings that are enabled for the springboarding activity here. So if you were an organization that had 2 instances of PBCS and you were an end user that needed to, connect to, both of those applications, simply with a click of a button, you could be moved into another application. You could open up a report, could open up a form, things like that. So this is going to be a very strong focus of not only eCapital, but of Oracle as well, as we move into the new year. Because I think as the cloud footprint continues to grow for organizations, this piece of functionality right here is going to be very, very important. So we're certainly excited for the future of this integrated business process within navigation flows. Number 1, here we go.
Top feature of 2017, again, as voted on by yours truly, is strategic modeling. So this is that 5th out-of-box plan type or modeling process that you get with the enterprise license, and basically brand new in 2017 of this year. I mean, ever since it was introduced halfway through the year here, we see almost at least 1 enhancement a month to this modeling set as they continue to develop and build this out. And while it's not there yet, they're still working on it. What it essentially is going to become is that replacement for HSF, Hyperion Strategic Finance. So it doesn't have the full parity today for some of the capabilities you have in HSF, but like I just stated, monthly enhancements to this product coming out. They will get there eventually. They're relatively close now, but that is the goal for this model. So again, classifying this as number 1 because as part of that enterprise license, that if you have that out there, you essentially were given a brand new modeling out of box that you're able to leverage to kind of build out those long-range strategic plans. So that there is the top 10 enhancements of 2017. Definitely recommend if you're not leveraging these features to start doing so. Incorporating whether it be 1, 2, or 3 of these into your process can really help your end users get more utility out of the tools. And on top of that, I think those administrators out there that are watching as well, leveraging this functionality can even help make our lives a lot easier as well. So definitely recommended looking into all of these top 10 features and look to incorporate within your modeling.
And maybe as we move into 2018, when we get into New Year's resolutions, we can all say, let's spend a month, every month we'll choose one of these to implement into our applications. And I know that's a resolution that Bob definitely wants to have moving into 2018. All PBCS related New Year's resolutions. So we encourage you all to do the same.
Not a big resolution there either. A lot of these enhancements are easily incorporated. And again, just going to make everybody's life easier as you start to leverage them. So with that, that's going to wrap up our monthly webinar this month. We thank everyone that's been with us throughout the year here. We're going to continue this, so we look forward to seeing everyone joining again in January. We pick up where we left off when Oracle comes out with that next release next year.
Thank you, everyone. Have a happy holidays and a happy new year.